Okay, hello and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Jakob Löwenbrand, and we're going to have a great time here together today talking about the power of AI in B2B tech content marketing. And I hope we're going to have a great time together. So I'm not going to present today a little bit maybe, but I have two great colleagues with me here today. And I let them introduce themselves a little bit shortly here before we kick off. So, Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda, senior copywriter at Brightvision. I've been at Brightvision for about 2 years, originally from Canada, now live in Sweden, and I have been in copywriting and content marketing for about 12 years now.
And hi everyone, I'm Peter. I'm a senior art director, and I have been, in this game for quite a while, but I've been at Brightvision for 6.5 years. So I do mostly design work, and I hope I can teach you a thing or two today.
Awesome. And I'm so happy to have you with us. Amanda and Peter are our senior content creators in both design and copywriting. So they have a lot of good stuff saved up for us here and good insights in how to use and apply AI. But before that, we would just like to start up a little bit with a question for you guys who are sitting in here today. What AI tools are you using in your content creation process as of today? If you're using something. If you don't, just write nothing and we can see if what we got here, so we know a little bit on the status of the audience as is. Okay, we got a few answers here. ChatGPT is definitely a platform a lot of is using. We have nothing, quite a few. Grammarly, ChatGPT, 11 Labs, Midjourney, and that is something we're going to talk about. Great. Thank you for just giving us a little bit of insights. We are going to pick up a few of those and give you a few of the best tips and tricks on how to leverage them better, hopefully. So, moving on. So, who are Brightvision? We're a growth marketing agency working in the European market. We have a full service offering for B2B tech companies. We're primarily a vertical industry specialist where we have a quite broad offering of services. We started out as a marketing consultant for tech startups in the late 90s. We added telemarketing and inside sales to our service offering, and then we have added on to it the digital marketing and performance marketing and things like that. So today we're proud to say that we're a full service growth agency that help tech companies drive their revenue growth in different areas. And we work with clients like the leaders in tech, but also very small tech niche companies that might be quite small as well. So we have the whole spectrum. Anyway, if you pick up something here today that you feel, wow, these guys actually know what they're talking about, maybe it's worth to have a workshop with them and get more insights and maybe discuss our situation. Well, we have an offer for you today. We have a free growth workshop where one or two of our specialists sit down for 90 minutes with you and discuss your situation and give you our best takes on what might be a good way forward, whatever problems you want to bring up around the growth funnel or your sales and marketing problems. So would love to do that. Okay, let's dive into today's topic. So we're gonna have 3 small sessions here today, and I'm having a first one which is more from a overall top of the view on AI. So I'm the CEO of Brightvision. I'm having that hat on now, and I'm not a professional content creator as Amanda and Peter are. So they will bring on the specialist hat. But for you guys who sit in my role, that is feeling a bit, shit, this is coming along, what we're gonna do, and so forth. I'm gonna have a few insights on that as an introduction here. So this is what I grew up with. I'm pretty old. I'm around 50. So I was a kid in the late 70s, early 80s. My parents bought exactly this computer setup in 1980. And that was a tech revolution for a lot of both companies as well as persons involved in different kind of office work. And as you see here on the screen, so it became affordable to buy quite powerful computers that had only been accessible for bigger companies up until then. IBM came with the first computers in the late 50s, early 60s, but only the big corporations like Volvo and SKF and the big ones had a potential to buy those large mainframes. But in the late 70s, this revolution of the microchips, Apple, Atari, and all the different personal computer vendors came up and became big just over a few years. And this became in every man's ownership. And what also came along with that is, of course, tsunami of software, and the bookkeeping software came in the early 80s, and that revolutionized everybody who was in accounting, bookkeeping, finance. Suddenly you had a program and a software where you could add, you can make reports, you can get analysis and so forth. It wasn't great, but it was so much better than the bookkeeping ledger that everybody was working on before in smaller companies, at least, and home companies and so forth. So for my parents who had their own business, started doing the bookkeeping on computer, it was a lot of time savings, and of course reporting is a thing they never had the ability to do before. Okay, where I'm going with this, of course we are at the similar pivot and tech revolution now for every company. And if you were somebody working professional with accounting or bookkeeping or finance in the 80s and didn't apply the personal computer revolution and the software that came along with that, you were in trouble a few years down the road. We are having the same situation now for content marketing, and a lot of other disciplines as well, of course. But now we're going to talk about that. We need to embrace this and see this as a tech revolution, not as a way that whether you have, the ability to, of course you can choose if you want to adopt it or not, but I view it the same way. What might be interesting is that I feel things go a bit faster this time than in the 80s. Of course, the bookkeeping software improved over time and became better and better and better. And then came along the BI tools and so forth. Now we have everything at the finger click and so forth. But just to give you a comparison, and you probably already heard it, but ChatGPT was a big thing in late November, as you remembered. And it actually, the first version, ChatGPT 3.5, made the unified bar exam in December, but it only scored at the lowest 10%. But in March, ChatGPT 4.0 came along, and suddenly it was so much better and passed the exam at the 90th percentile and was among the 10 best scores, actually, just 4 or 5 months later. So we have a very fast development of these generative AI platforms as of today. And if you see this ChatGPT or the other platforms out there, they're costing the plus version or the enterprise version, whatever it's called in ChatGPT, is just $20 a month. Can you afford to now hire an assistant that can do so much and have passed the bar exam and everything? Well, it's hard. But that's how we want to view AI. It's not here to replace us as marketeer, but it's to assist us and make us better. So that's our premises and our view on this topic here at Brightvision. And that's also how we want to delve into, just like we thought about it in the 80s when we were talking about bookkeeping software or engineering software, and every area where software automated and improved and speed up all the things we've done manually before. So from a CEO perspective, this raises a lot of questions. What should people learn? What businesses, who should we hire? when should we do things? Should we not do other things? What tools to use and so forth. And a big one, ethical guardrails and so on. So just want to give you a few top ideas around this, what we're doing and how we have started diving into this topic here at Brightvision. Maybe it gives some of you who are a leader a few ideas on where to start if you're not, up and running on this one. So first, budget to explore AI tools. We must understand that this costs a bit money to understand where we should go. And of course, you can wait until there's a majority that's rooting for a specific software or so forth. We're now in a very, very distributed and fragmented area where new tools come to market every day. And if you're going to pick and choose and try out every tool coming to market, you're going to have a full-time job only doing that, and maybe more so. So that's not possible. So you need to put a stake in the ground and say, we need to try a few things here. It's going to cost us a few things. And we're probably going to waste a few money, a few dollars on licenses or platforms or tools or processes that we're now going to try that won't give us so much back. But we need to do this. We need to test and have an iterative and a trial and error kind of approach to this area, just like companies did in the 80s, in the software revolution, in the 90s, in the internet came along and so forth. So you never know what's going to stick, but you need to be there and try it out, unless you would risk to jump on the bandwagon so late that it's clear who will be the emerging winner. But that also exposes you of the laggard risk, so to say, that the competitors that's earlier in the adoption actually makes you too inefficient to actually be in the game at that point. So it is an alpha and beta risk. How early should we invest compared to how long can we wait? I would say that it's probably safer as of now to start doing some tests and not be passive, but actually try to learn and to build some kind of internal knowledge in your company or your team, so you at least start the route to AI adoption and see what stakes are not. If we move on there, so set up a few tests in different areas, both horizontal as well as vertical applications. You can find AI tools in pretty much every discipline as of today. What I mean with vertical applications is like Midjourney, where yes, that's a design software, but ChatGPT is more like a universal platform where you can pretty much enter any questions. It's great for copywriting and content research and all the things Amanda will talk about, but you can do it for, you can put in a contract there like our CFO do and ask for the juridical problems or logical problems it can see in the contract and things like that. So you can apply it to so many areas. So that's why we see that more like a horizontal application, even though you can use it for vertical areas, of course. And I would say rolling out a generic AI horizontal platform like ChatGPT or something else to your team is a good starting point if you haven't done that yet, and do it as a way to try and see who adopts it and who can find use cases in order to go with it. So how should you choose a platform, a generic platform? Well, if you're just going to go with one, pick ChatGPT. It's the most famous one and probably a good pick. We're experimenting with some other platforms. We're using Notion as an internal wiki, so to say, if you have heard about Notion. They have their own front end on AI, also based on ChatGPT 3.5. It's working pretty good. It could be replacing ChatGPT to a larger extent. We're also trying another one called Typing Cloud, and we also played around with a few others and trying to evaluate them and see which is the best platform and so forth. And for example, if we just talk about ChatGPT, if you buy the $20 license, which I would recommend everybody to do since it gives you so much extra value, you have the plugins there, and you can use the GPT-4 version, which is even better. And you can also start uploading in beta version now documents that have been a lack of features before. And there's a bunch of plugins that might be or might not be useful. But if you have somebody at your team, if you go with ChatGPT, that can be a good plugin researcher, and try to keep a few of the best plugins on the team's mind. I think that's a good way to go forward. For example, how to work with PDFs. That is at least how it have been done, needs a plugin to do. You can do research plugins if you were going for a lot of questions around medical research or science research papers and things like that. There's all kind of plugins, and I think there is coming like 10 new plugins pretty much every week or every day. So a lot going on there. Typing Cloud is similar to ChatGPT. It's one of all these front ends on a GPT platform that is a bit more company friendly. You can have your own set of company plugins that you choose for your employees to use. And you can also build like prompt libraries that is company owned, so to say, so you can help your employees to become faster in choosing your prompts that you knew are working for different scenarios. You can also prefigure what kind of persona you would like to use when asking the questions. So you also get faster up to speed and don't needs to give so much instructions when you go after some task there. So there's a few players like this that have those more company-friendly settings that might be a good way to use it. As of now, they don't have a GPT-4 platform available, and a few other things. So a little bit pros and cons analysis you need to do there. One of the best ways in order to, if you want to choose and evaluate those, here are a few. For example, we have done prompt comparisons sheets where we try a lot of different prompts that we think or know are important for us and in different areas. For example, content, of course, the obvious ones, but also in other administrative tasks and things like that might be interesting to use the platform for. So please see and I think this might be a bit, it doesn't necessarily be that ChatGPT or Typing Cloud is the best for everybody. It might be actually a little bit different on what data they have been trained on and things like that. So you can try it out and see what works best for you. Also, going forward, hiring people. I would suggest everybody who's hiring people these days to have interview questions around AI. And if you don't feel that they are at least interested to explore it, that is becoming a no-go in interviews, at least here at Brightvision for the future. You need to hire people that are at least interested and willing to work with those tools and try it out. So just like in the 80s, if you were going to hire a bookkeeper that said, no, I don't do the software bookkeeping. I like the old ledgers. I'm really good at that. I stick to what I know. It's not going to fly for long. So you need to either see if they're coachable, or if not, pass on that candidate and move on. And of course, the ethical consideration. This is a big one. And I don't say that we have figured it out yet. We have worked on it. We have a take on it. But first and foremost, before you do external work, aka for client work and so forth, you need to be transparent and say, we're going to use AI and we have those tools, and I think it's smart. It will save you time and money. And, it's both beneficial for us. Just like any other tech revolution, the bookkeepers told their clients sometime in the early 80s that we're now going to do your bookkeeping in a software. It means that we need to save it on a hard drive. We're going to take backups on it and put it in our, safe deposit every Friday and so forth. And that was a change, of course, from how it be handled before. We're exactly at the same point now. We need to tell our clients, we're going to handle your information and the work we do in these softwares this way. And we try to protect your data. We're going to make sure it's not, handled in an unethical or unsecure way and so forth. So that's so important that you learn enough about those aspects. And maybe you want to hire some kind of jury lawyer or somebody who can give you expert advice if it's really, really sensitive data you're working on. So think about that before you go external with your work. So if you want to do it really thorough, I'm more of, let's try it out, let's get started, let's see what sticks, and continue to invest in that, like the good to great, shoot bullets, not cannonballs approach. But we do have a checklist here for if you're interested in doing it the waterfall way. And to sum it up, if you're a leader in your team, department, company, and so forth, I think you need to be the driver of this adoption. It's very hard to say, well, he's our tech guy or she's our tech visionary here, that they have. You need to drive this. If you want to see this happen, you need to understand it. You need to be there. And I would say, as a leader today, you need to spend at least 60 minutes every day, at least for some time forward, because so much is going on and there's so much to learn, and we need to understand what is happening and how to adopt these things in our organization. So you need to be at the helm of the ship now in those aspects, and invest your time in it to get your head around it, and know where to invest and so forth. And also, when you have strong use cases where this is saving a lot of time for us, invest in them, go after it and so forth, and roll it out and processify it. And continue to experiment, both horizontal applications as well as niche applications. And if you do that, I think everybody will get out on the other side of this technical pivot that is feeling like it's going faster than any previous technical revolution is. I think we're going to get fine, and we're going to experience the same things that we have done over the last technical revolutions as well. So with that, also to wrap it up, AI is not a replacement for creative minds. It's a powerful tool that amplifies human potential in content creation. And that's our basic viewpoint, and that's what we're going to work with going forward. Over to you, Amanda. Amanda, are you with us? Emma, do we have Amanda on, or should we go to Peter instead?
Amanda should be on her way in. Let's give her a couple more seconds. Otherwise, Peter could go, and then Amanda can continue after that, I'd say.
Okay, let's go with Peter's. Peter, are you here? There you are. Amanda, can you take it to Peter's slides? You take his first.
I'm here now. I don't know what happened. I had a little glitch there, but
okay.
We can't see you, Amanda.
I know. I'm having technical difficulties, but I think I can go.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
I can present without having the camera on. If the camera comes back, great. If not, I think I'm good. Okay.
Let's take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda, as mentioned, senior copywriter at Brightvision. So what I do is I'm writing copy for a variety.
I think you lost you, Amanda. I can't hear you. Emma, do you hear Amanda?
I'm trying to turn on her mic. Let's see here.
But AI is not going to be able to replace human thoughts or emotions or experiences because it's just literally cannot, because it's not human. So that's where we're going to go. That being said, there are a lot of things that you can do with AI content tools. And these are some of the things that I have been doing pretty successfully, I would like to say. The first thing is market research, including creating outlines for buyer personas. So getting information about an industry or a specific job description or job title that I would be targeting with content. I found ChatGPT to be really helpful for that. Generating outlines for longer form content like ebooks or white papers or longer blog posts. Having ChatGPT generate an outline that is logical in its progression from A to B with the CTA at the end, so that I can see how the ideas should be formulated. I found that very helpful. Summarizing content that exists already, like articles, blog posts, interview transcripts, to sort of query as to, okay, how would I make this idea work for the persona that I'm trying to target? Gaining general knowledge on nearly any subject. You know, if you're working with a new industry or you're working with a new product and you need to learn how it works and stuff like that. Writing quick first drafts of content to sort of get an idea as to where you still have gaps in the knowledge, like what research do you still have to do, and generating variations of content for A/B testing. That's one thing that ChatGPT has been really useful for when it comes to ad copy. Things that you should not do with AI content tools like ChatGPT. Number one, try to generate original ideas or expect that what you get from the program will be original, because it's just literally not. It's the way that these tools work are that they're taking information that already exists and they're reordering it to meet your query. So they can't actually come up with new or exciting or original ideas. They can only repurpose things that already exist. The second thing is to trust that all the information that you get from an AI tool like ChatGPT is accurate, because it is not, and we'll go into that in more detail. And then the third thing is publishing content straight from ChatGPT or another AI tool without reading it over yourself or reviewing it or editing it, because there could be incorrect information in there. The voice and tone could be off. The more we see people using ChatGPT to write content, the more we see the ChatGPT voice and tone becoming prevalent on websites and in blogs and stuff. So the more it's used, the more people will know that you're using it. So it's very important to have humans look at everything that you publish. So with that in mind, like I said, ChatGPT is what I'm using a lot, and looking at what you guys commented in the what tools you're using, it looks like you are too. So this should be good. Okay. So the first thing to note is like, if you're working with a copywriter, we are going to ask you for a lot of information about the content that you want. We are going to be asking you about your target audience, the voice and tone, what kind of content do you want us to make, what's the goal, et cetera, et cetera. ChatGPT needs that information too. And in fact, they probably need a lot more context than a human copywriter would need, because they can't make those connections from one thing to another in the same way that a human would. So you need to give ChatGPT as much context as possible. And you can do this through asking it questions, giving it information, and having conversations with it. So feed all the information that you want into your session before you start trying to ask it to write content for you, and you will get better results. Here are some prompts that you can use. I'll go through these pretty quickly. This first one is asking ChatGPT to act as a copywriter, and telling it the topic you want to write about, and then asking it to ask you questions that it would need in order to get enough context to write the content that you want. So what it will ask you is those questions that I just mentioned about, like, who's the buyer persona, what's the goal of the content, what voice and tone are you looking for, that kind of thing. And then that starts the conversation, giving the AI the context that it needs to then generate the content that you want. Another one here is review this text and summarize it for me. Who's the ideal user, or I use the word avatar here, of this product or service. This is really helpful for like analyzing your own content, like say a product page on your website. This can tell you if your content is reaching the right audience, appealing to the right emotions of the buyer persona, focused on the right benefits. There's a lot of different things that you can do with analyzing content like this. Another prompt here: what could happen if the avatar uses this product or service? Describe in detail and give real-world examples. So this one is helping show the benefits of the product or service that you will be writing about, and using like specifically to the persona that you're trying to target. So that's also very helpful for making sure that your benefits that you're focusing on align with the needs of the persona. This one, so if you're writing about a specific topic and you're trying to target a specific persona, name the topic. For the above topic, what are some common and uncommon problems that the avatar might experience? This one is very helpful for when you're writing what we call problem-aware content, which is when you're doing demand generation. You'll be doing a lot of problem-aware content where you're trying to reach people in that early stage of the buying journey. And you're trying to target them when they're looking for solutions to their problems. So this prompt helps you find what problems they're experiencing so that you can then write content that will appeal to them because they're looking for solutions to their problems. It's some additional prompts here that I've tried, but these ones are more like hit or miss, but they're still, sometimes they've been really interesting. Where does the user look for information? This is good when you're trying to find sources for research. Who are the major influencers in this industry? This one's been helpful for, again, researching an industry. But this one I found to be hit or miss because sometimes ChatGPT will just make up people. So that's something to watch for. How tech savvy is the user? Very important for if you're targeting an early adopter, you have to talk to them in a different way than you do a late adopter, for example. Who are the user's main tasks and goals? Or what are the user's main tasks and goals? So that you know, like, what are their motivators, so that it's just another way to appeal to their emotions. What personality characteristics make a person successful in their role? So in B2B, we're targeting people usually by a job title or a role. So we want to know not just what it is that they do, but also like who they are as a person. So that helps us figure out voice and tone. If they're supposed to be friendly and personable, then we can probably talk to them with a more conversational tone than we could some other people. When you have all that information, you've put all the context that you have into ChatGPT, you can use this final prompt here to create a buyer persona. So it's take all the information provided and use it to create a detailed buyer persona. Include name, age, location, job title, responsibilities, personality characteristics, and problems the persona faces in their job. Then explain how the product or service you are promoting can help the persona fix these problems. So then what you get is a very detailed persona that includes all that information, but it also includes the problems that you would need for the problem-aware content and how your product or service is the solution to those specific problems, which is very, very helpful when you're starting work with a new client, I got to say. This information, again, might not be 100% accurate, but it is a very good place to start. And then from there, you can verify the information with firsthand, secondhand sources like interviews or looking up statistics and that kind of thing. The next thing to note is that, as I said before, not all the information that you get from a tool like ChatGPT is factually correct. There is this phenomenon in AI content called an AI hallucination, which is when a tool like ChatGPT makes up false information to sort of fill in the blanks in the data that it hasn't received from you, or to fit the narrative that it's pulling out for you. So sometimes you will see like it will come up with like a testimonial from a person who doesn't exist, or it will come up with statistics or facts or percentages or whatever that can't be verified because they were just made up by ChatGPT. So you always have to manually check information from ChatGPT, especially quotes, facts, statistics, conclusions. You need to be able to find sources to back up that information. And if you can't find them, then don't use them, because publishing incorrect information makes the author look bad, but it also makes your brand look bad. So always, always, always make sure that the information that you are using is backed up and credible. Third is to be specific. This goes with number one, you want to feed in as much context as possible. But it's also about like being specific in your prompt. So one prompt that I've used just for fun, but it is a good example to use here, is that I will sometimes ask ChatGPT to rewrite content in the style of a different author just to see how the voice and tone will change. But if I just say, write it in the style of David Ogilvy, for example, then it's just going to write basically the same thing as it did the first time, but with like a couple different words. So instead of saying write in the style of David Ogilvy, I say write in the style of David Ogilvy with short sentences, punchy headlines, that kind of thing, so that it knows this is like, I'm looking for the style of this author, but this is how I define the style of this author. And also, if you are using ChatGPT to do like iterations of ad copy, you have to be specific in like, it needs to be this many characters, including spaces, because otherwise it will just write what it thinks is the best. And if your character count on a Google ad headline is like 20 characters, 25 characters, and it writes you something that's 100 characters, then that's not going to help you. So yeah, that's the third thing. And then fourth, and going back to my thesis statement, that AI is a colleague, but not a replacement for good writers and editors, is that you always need a human editor. You always need human eyes looking at content before you publish it. And this is because even though we're using AI tools to generate content, we want it to be read by humans, right? Every one of our readers is going to be a human. So our content still needs to appeal to humans. That means we need to have human emotions in there. We need to be appealing to emotions. We need to be thinking about these things. And an AI just cannot, by nature, it just cannot do that. It will get better at pretending to do that as time goes on, and it might be able to do that in the future, like at least act like it can, but it's never going to have human experiences just by the nature of what it is. So you always need that human eye on it. And you also need to know your own definition of what good copy looks and sounds like, as opposed to bad copy, so that if like you can quality assure the content that you're receiving from ChatGPT. Yeah. And then, like I said, again, just to reiterate, always verify the veracity of your AI generated content. You want to, when you're trying to make a case, you always want to cite your sources. So you have to do that with AI generated content too, which means that you still have to be doing research. You can't just ask the AI to write something, assume that it's correct, and publish it. You still have to verify it's correct. You still have to cite sources in it, because you are still trying to use that content to reach a human reader. So yeah, I think that is it for me. So now we pass it over to Peter.
All right, cool. Thanks, Anna. So let's get into the design part of this webinar. So like Jakob mentioned earlier, this space is moving incredibly fast. And what was the leading image generation tool 6 months ago might not be the leader today. So I went to Wikipedia and had a look at what image generation tools could do in 2021. And this is from DALL-E. And it's supposed to be a dragon combined with a giraffe. And I guess it is, but it's very primitive to what we're used to these days. But this is only 2 years ago. And last year, or almost exactly 1 year ago, Stable Diffusion launched their first version to the public. And well, as you can see, there might be some messiness in this image. It's not exactly detailed like we might come to expect, but this is only 1 year ago that this was released. And also keep in mind that Midjourney launched in July last year. So we've come quite far in this short amount of time. And also, this is pretty much what a prompt used to look like up until just a few months ago. And while complex prompts do have their place, simple prompts are really only what's needed as a starting point, at least right now. And that is mostly because the underlying generative models have improved so quickly. And not are they better at producing images, they're also better at interpreting your prompts. So basically, they're better at understanding English now. And this is from Firefly. from Adobe, which went into beta testing in May this year. And all of these tools are also being implemented into Photoshop and all of their other software that they have at Adobe. So this is what our prompt might look like if we just use the default art. And this is what it might look like if we use the photographic model instead. Quite impressive, actually, for such a short prompt. Bing, Microsoft Bing has a similar thing. They, of course, use DALL-E, who, of course, created the ChatGPT. And yeah, it's called Image Creator. You can find it on Microsoft Bing, and we use the same prompt here again. A happy puppy wearing sombrero eating a taco. And a full resolution image might look like something like this. And it's photorealistic without us even having to input that, because it kind of suggests that as a default. Midjourney, as some of you mentioned that you're using, has evolved very, very quickly as well. I think that I might just add that as a tip, if you're using Midjourney, you might have a look at the documentation itself on their website on midjourney.com, because there's quite a few things that are kind of hidden in the back end that are really good to get familiar with if you're taking your image generation to the next level. And it's also a good thing to always read the news that they publish on the Discord channel, and also listening to their talks that they have monthly over there as well. So this is basically the same prompt yet again, different user interface because this works through Discord. And this is a high resolution generated image from those 4 images that we had. Same prompt, looking great. This is Stable Diffusion in their own web tool called Dream Studio. This is using their latest version, SDXL, which is of course also available to install on your own computer. But this is the web version. And if you want to install it on your own computer, you might get ready to spend some time on GitHub reading documentation and basically feel like a hacker using terminal command to get it all working. But once you do, you might, this is the one of the most common interfaces that they have. And yes, it looks like a critical space mission calculator or something. But once you get to understand it, it's actually pretty awesome. If you zoom out, it might look something like this. If you're used to 3D software, you're probably familiar with this type of setup as well, of course. Automatic 1111 is a very common tool to use with Stable Diffusion as well. Kind of the same thing, but really, really versatile. But it is super good once you get to use it as well. So we have the same prompt here, done in Stable Diffusion, still the happy puppy with the sombrero eating tacos. And so what can we do with this type of image? Well, we can extend it with Photoshop using the generative fills, like we talked about earlier. That's coming in all versions of Photoshop. It's in the beta version right now. And what could we do with this image? Well, it's great as a style reference. Say you have a photographer that needs a reference. Maybe you want to discuss a theme or a mood for your campaign, or maybe you just want ideas to bounce off your colleagues. Like in this case, Amanda did some copy here just to show what it could look like if it was actually an ad for a campaign. So a really cool 80s Volvo car on the beach, same thing. Just trying to make something out of it. Filling in details, adding some surfers, adding some mountains in the background, adding a surfboard, and adding a beach towel. This is a really cool way to convey something that you might just had in your head before. And yet again, Amanda wrote some copy here, just so we can show it off to the client or the team. Same thing, but a different aspect. Maybe you want the car to be made out of Legos instead. Well, we can show that as well. We can compare the previous one to this one, so we can have a discussion around what type of theme we want to go with, for example. So everyone probably knows this image. It's Andy Warhol's print of Marilyn Monroe But if we trace the lines and use the lines as a guide, kind of a reference, using something called control net in stable diffusion, we can actually fill in what's white in this image. So we can say that we want an 8-bit image, for instance. We might say that we want it more colorful or more cartoony, for instance. Maybe we want a more detailed sort of illustration, or maybe we want something that's photorealistic. So it will use the guided lines as we had, but we can fill in the blanks with whatever we want. Pretty cool. So who knows, maybe you'll become the next Andy Warhol. Here's a cool function that's been introduced within Midjourney. It's kind of the same thing that we did in Photoshop previously. We can expand the image, and we can expand the image by zooming out, for instance. And we can zoom out yet again. And we can also pan the image. So now, from just seeing the first bird on the left, we have extended the image using just Midjourney and not any additional commands or software. Here I have 2 images that I did with Midjourney, a blank t-shirt and some sort of floral print. And what happens if we just feed this information back into Midjourney without adding any additional prompt? We'll get something like this. Midjourney combines the 2 for us without us having to do anything. This is part of our logo, and we can use that as a control reference as well. We can add it for background images that we might use for PowerPoint presentation or just branding images. Who knows? You can do basically whatever you want with these kind of tools. I personally like to generate inspiration. So maybe instead of going to Behance or Pinterest and find inspiration, you could generate your own inspiration. In this case, I wanted to find inspiration for a website, and I came up with these 3. It's, yet again, very useful to have these sort of references when discussing with a client or a freelancer or just discussing the look and feel of a campaign. Very cool stuff. Yet again, I just wanted to make a mock-up really quickly. Did it in Midjourney, but there's no place for the text. We just pan the image and boom, there we go. So these tools are kind of showing up everywhere. This is from Microsoft Designer, which is a competitor to Canva. And here we can basically just add whatever we want it to do. So we say, create a commercial quality ad for a world-class coffee brand. Use images of cups, coffee beans, and espresso machines. What it will do is generate the image, but it will also generate the headline and do the layout for us. So here are 2 suggestions that it came up with. And of course, the same stuff is coming to Canva as well. This is the image generation part of it. And yeah, I mean, these tools are coming to all sorts of design and marketing tools, and with each iteration, the requirements are becoming less technical, and so you can focus more on your ideas. But why wait? Start experimenting today. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Amanda. And we have a few minutes for questions now. And so if you have any questions, please write them in the chat, and we take a few minutes if you can stay on and discuss them. And we got one question from Jason here. Are there any specific types of content within B2B tech marketing that AI excels at? And are there any areas where human creativity still prevails? Maybe we can have your take on it, Peter, and then you, Amanda.
Absolutely. It doesn't need to be tech specific, but coming up with ideas or even ads. You can do layouts of ads that I do use at times just to try different company names, for instance, in your image prompt will generate totally different looks and feels. So yet again, use it as an inspirational tool is really, really cool. Without having to look up references, you can generate your own inspiration.
Yeah, I would say, like what Peter says, that it's about generating inspiration. So how I found AI to be the most useful is with researching different things, looking at personas, and like how are you going to best appeal to the persona to get them to do the thing that you want them to do with the content. So that's mostly how I've used it. The human creativity, I think, is still very much in there in the content, because you still have to be creative in how you're going to get their attention, right? And that's going to continue to change and evolve as time goes on, especially as people get more used to AI tools. I think grabbing people's attention and making your content stand out is going to become even more important as time goes on.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And have you seen any challenges? Emily asks here, what challenges did you encounter when implementing AI in your content marketing strategy? Any thoughts on that from any of you?
I can say there was a challenge in the beginning that all the content generated by AI sounded the same. So there was that issue, but learning to work with it and learning to edit makes it better. But like I said previously, like the more people use these tools, the more it becomes very clear when people are using these tools. So that could be a problem. Like one thing I've noticed with ChatGPT is if you ask it to generate headlines, it likes to start headlines with unlock or unleash. So now whenever I see the word unlock or unleash at the beginning of a headline, I assume it's generated by ChatGPT.
That's good. Great. We move on. Could you discuss potential challenges related to AI generated content? Well, it was pretty much what we discussed there. Anything else you would like to add on this, Peter, where you could go wrong or end up,
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, there's tons of things that could go wrong, and the most common thing is probably that you have to look at the details of whatever image you're generating. These tools usually, well, of course, they are becoming better and better and improved on, but they still generate a lot of stuff that's not supposed to be in there. And everybody knows the example of fingers missing or extra digits on people's hands and stuff like that. So you have to be wary of the details. And then, of course, there's the licensing issue. If you're using something like Stable Diffusion and custom checkpoint models and stuff, you have to be very, very, very about the licensing when it comes to those things. So you can't just expect that you can use any tool and just upload the images onto the internet and it's all good. You have to kind of double check into that as well. But if you're using Midjourney or if you're using the standard models for Stable Diffusion and stuff, so you're fine. But yeah.
And if I can jump in, I see brand voice and addressing complex technical subjects. Well, with ChatGPT, you can do it, but you need to, again, feed the bot. You need to give it as much context as you possibly can. So you have to give it as much context on your brand voice and as much context on those complex technical subjects as possible. Because if you're just asking it a question that involves a complex technical subject, for example, it will give you the answer that it thinks that you're looking for, which is usually not as deep into the subject as you want to get. So you might have to query it a few times in a few different ways to get it deep enough into the subject to get the information that you're looking for. It can be done, but again, it takes a lot of time. And every time you start a new query, you have to re-input that context again. So it can be done, but it takes a while.
Yeah, good point. We have one last question here for you, Peter. As you showed us, it can be quite technical to set up those design tools. But if you want to start and play around with any of these, AI design tools, where should you start?
Well, you might as well just go to Microsoft Bing and try out the image creator there. It's free. And you can also try out Dream Studio, like we showed in one of the slides. It's also free if you just want to try it out for a few images. Midjourney is open if you go to their website, but if you want to create more than 25 images, you will basically have to pay for it. So I would say try all of the tools that are available to that kind of gives you a free amount of images and see what fits you best, and then see if you want to actually buy a subscription somewhere. And it can be quite expensive, to be honest. Midjourney is like $80 if you want the premium model.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. And thank you, Peter. Thank you, Amanda. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. This is a big and important and exciting topic. A lot of things moving, a lot of things going on in different areas of the tech revolution of AI now. So let's help each other out so we find the good with things, and it can keep improving on how to do things and so forth. So looking forward to continue the dialogue in workshops and offline. But for now, thank you so much for listening in, everybody, and catch you later. Bye.
Bye.